Alright, today I'm going to be telling you about a very nutritious tropical vegetable, and that is called chaya, and it's this plant that's growing here behind me. And this plant, the leaves are edible, and it looks kind of like cassava, and in fact it has some similarities to cassava with the leaves. But they're highly nutritious. They have a good amount of protein. Protein, of course, is important for building strong muscles. It also has a lot of calcium and phosphorus, which are good for your bones, vitamins A and C, which are good for your immune system and for your eyesight, and it also has a lot of iron, which is important for blood and preventing anemia. So chaya is a really excellent vegetable to have. It grows well during the dry season as well as during the rainy season, so it's appropriate for a place like Uganda where there aren't many greens available when it's not raining. And it's also very easy to plant. You only need to take one of the woody stem cuttings like this. So break off one of these, and then the woody part, you put part of it into the ground and leave some of it sticking up and keep it watered until it starts to sprout leaves from it. This one that's behind me is about 2 years old, and I've cut it down to this level twice during that period. So it grows very quickly and provides a lot of greens. So I keep cutting it down as it grows bigger and bigger, and then it resprouts the leaves that I want to eat. Important thing to note about chaya is that you have to boil the leaves before you eat them. Like cassava, it has some cyanide compounds in it, and so you can't eat it raw. But most people eat their greens cooked anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. So you boil it for at least 10 minutes, and any of the cyanide in it goes off into the air, and then the water and the greens are safe to eat. So I'm going to bring the camera closer so that you can see it up close and know what it looks like, and then later we'll show how to cook it. Okay, so here is a close-up view of the chaya leaves, and when you want to harvest it, you can pull the whole leaf off of the plant, and all of this is edible, but the stem is kind of hard, so it's nice just to pull the leaf off and eat that part. You can also eat the tips of the stems. So if you see the green tip of the stem is soft, and you can cut and boil that as well, just like you do with the leaves. So all those parts are edible. You can see down here I have some that I recently planted. I just stuck the stick in the ground and the leaves are sprouting out of it. Chaya is also useful as an animal feed. My ducks and my chickens love to eat the leaves if they can get at them, and so you can feed fresh leaves to fowl like chicken and ducks. You can also dry the leaves and then grind them up and mix them to your feeds. Mix them with your feeds for animals like chickens and pigs, and it helps add some good nutrients into their feed and helps them grow better. Okay, I have my pile of chaya leaves here that I'm going to be cooking, and I also have some of the stem tips, which I'll show you up close a little bit more. But I'm going to be boiling the chaya. As I talked about before, you need to boil it for at least 10 minutes. And so if you want to prepare it in a different way than boiling, like you want to fry it, first you boil for 10 minutes and then you can fry it up in some other way. I'm going to boil mine for about 15 minutes because it's kind of a hard green and I like mine to be softer, so I'm going to boil for 15 minutes, but 10 minutes is enough for it to be safe to eat. So I'm going to cut it up and then boil it, and then I'll show you how I'm going to prepare it using G-nut paste, and I'll also give you an idea of how to prepare these stems. I'm not going to be cooking them today, but you boil them the same way that you would with the greens, boil for 10 minutes, and then after you've boiled them, you can take them out and kind of peel off this outer coating. And then they're kind of the texture of asparagus for those of you from the US or Europe, and not really the same taste, but that kind of crunchy vegetable texture. So let's go ahead and boil the greens and then see the next step from there. Here's a quick close-up of the chaya greens and then the stem tips, so you can get a good idea of the part that is edible. So you can chop your greens as finely or as thickly as you want them to be, and I'm just going to toss these stems in there so that you can see how they look when they're cooked. And it'll shrink a little bit once it's boiled. I'm not going to fill it completely with water, but I will put enough so that once it shrinks down a bit, all of it will get covered by the water. And so then I'm going to start up my fire, and once it starts boiling, then I start timing the 10 minutes. I try not to put too much water in there because lots of nutrients get left in the water, and I don't want to have to pour any of that off, so I like to keep all of it and use it for my pasting the greens. Okay, the greens are boiling away, so we're going to boil them for at least 10 minutes, longer if you wish, depending on how soft or hard you like your greens to be. And I'll also pull these stem tips out before I put the other materials in. So I'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, here are our greens after boiling for 10 minutes. I'm going to pull the stems out to let them cool a little bit before I pull off that outer coating, the bark. And then I'll let my greens boil a little bit longer before I add the G-nut paste and seasonings. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, to me I feel like it's boiled enough. I'm probably going to have to add in more water because there's not a lot in there, but we'll see. I have some extra boiled water that I can add in if I need it. So I've got my other ingredients, some G-nut paste here, curry powder, salt. It's really just a matter of taste what you want to put in yours. So I'm going to put a little scoop of curry powder. It's kind of a lot. Some curry powder and some salt. Then we've got our G-nut paste here. Takes a surprising amount to be able to make something pasted, so we have a pretty good scoop there. I'm going to start adding that and stir it as it kind of dissolves, not really dissolves, but gets mixed into the water to make a sauce. Not quite enough to make that sauce, so we need to add some more. Do another good scoop here. Like that. Can always adjust it by adding more water or adding more G-nut paste if you need to. And you can make your sauce as thin or thick as you want, depending on the amount of water or how many vegetables you like in proportion to your paste. Alright, I am satisfied by how much sauce I have, but really you can cook chaya the same way that you would cook collard greens, sukuma wiki, or cowpea leaves, and any way that you would prepare it, you can prepare chaya, just making sure that you boil it for 10 minutes before you do anything else with it. So I used the water from cooking the chaya. I didn't pour off the water, so the water is safe to use for drinking or for cooking. And I'm now ready to be able to eat that one. It's evening, so it's starting to get dark in the kitchen, so hopefully you can see it a little bit better here where there's more light. That's how it looks. Oh. And there's some steam. There we go. Then there are those stem tips for the chaya. And we can just peel off the outer bark. I have peeled off the bark before cooking, but it was really hard and it got stuck in my fingernails and that wasn't very comfortable. So it's easier when it's soft like this. So you can go ahead and just peel that off. The idea is just that it's a little bit woody since it's the bark, and so you don't really want to eat that. You want the soft inside. So it kind of looks like asparagus, and you can see that it's nice and soft and crispy. And you can go ahead and eat it like this. You can fry it up, or you can eat it with some kind of sauce, but that's how you prepare the stem tips for eating.